the governor on the next day issues a proclamation, which is also quite curious. We need not go into
this. Is the power corresponding to 356, which is vested in the governor.
That's right. But here it's vested in the governor, independent of the council of ministers, which I mentioned to your lords. It's a very, very unique power. And the council of ministers was suspended in the process. He didn't even wait for a day. I mean, it's normally speaking, what would happen? A governor would wait for other political affiliations to take place to form a government.
That's also part of political process.
I'm sorry?
That's also part of political process.
That's precisely what I'm saying, Milad. But why do you think I've been saying this? Why would a governor do this on the next day, Milad?
Yes, then what happened?
Well, so he does this, so 6 months were to expire. Then, Milad, there is some controversy, and I just tell your lordships orally that controversy is. According to the PDP, and I think somebody else will argue that, I'm not arguing. According to the PDP, they send a fax to Srinagar that they have the support of the National Conference and they are willing to form the government. The governor says he never received the fax because he says that he was in Jammu and the fax was sent to Srinagar. So Malaz, on the 21st of November, the next day, he dissolved the assembly. Yeah, on 21st November.
The fax of some
fax is also sent on 21st.
Have a sense of deja vu, no?
Fax is sent on 21st. He dissolves it on 21st. The fax hasn't reached him. Fax was sent.
It's almost on the annual of the period expiring.
No, that expired on 3rd of January, 19th of December.
19th, so about a month short of
that.
Yes,
month short.
This is not under challenge anymore.
No, I'm not. I myself said so. I myself said that that is an issue which...
So he dissolves the legislative assembly.
He dissolves the legislative. Now, Malad, you can't dissolve without the Council of Ministers. 36, 38 and 92 are his only powers. He has already suspended the Council of Ministers. He dissolves it.
Without the aid and advice.
Nothing. Why do you think I've been saying continuously that this is a pure political act? The governor and the government were acting in tandem. They wanted to get rid of 370, toss it out. Why would any governor do that? Why would the governor on 20th of June, after withdrawal of support on 19th of June, suspend the assembly? Don't allow any political affiliation and parties to take place so that a new government can be formed.
Which is the power of dissolution under the Constitution, just for the cross?
Yes, 53. Section 53 of the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir gives that power of dissolution, not part of the exception given to the governor with reference to his powers that he can exercise without the aid of the Council of Ministers.
Yeah, because Section 35 refers to 36, 38 and 92.
36, 38 and 92. The process, according to me, when you are interpreting constitutional provisions, is as important as the substance, because it's a constitutional process.
That's what another Coelho says, but this time it's Paulo Coelho in The Alchemist.
That's right. Then, Malad, on the 19th of December, the proclamation of governor's rule expired. A proclamation under 356 promulgating president's rule in the state of Jammu and Kashmir was issued on 19th December. So then came president's rule. Declare that the powers of the legislature of the state shall be exercisable by or under the authority of parliament. Now this is important, Malad. Therefore, parliament will be exercising the powers of the state legislature. And the state legislature under Malad's 147, you can't move a bill. Which is what Ambedkar said, which is what Keshav Nand said, that you can't do this. You have to be confined to your powers and responsibilities under the Constitution under which you're acting. There must have been great constitutional advisors, Malad, who would have thought of this very complicated handiwork, which found itself in our Constitution.
So they delete effectively the proviso to Article 3. But Mr. Sibal, at the end of it all, I mean, of course, this has the optics about the way it was done, but there's no challenge to anything that was done. All this is not under challenge here.
No, Malad, once we are challenging the emergency, Malad, the declaration of 356 is challenged. Malad, just look at it.
What is the frame of the petitions? Do we have a challenge?
Yes, we have one challenge. But Malad, quite apart from that, you're looking at Malad, it's 370, Malad. I mean, it's not.
All right, we'll just see what the frame of the challenge. If you can just ask one of the juniors to make that little tabulation for us.
But apart from that, Malad, this is now before you.
Yes.
In all its various nuances, in a sense.
Yes, of course.
Now the question is, Malad, what is the power? And that's the other thing. What is the power under 356? The quintessential object of 356 is to restore democracy. You take over because a government cannot be run in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution for a temporary period for the restoration of democracy. You don't use 356 for its destination. You can't amend the provisions of the Constitution under 356.
Require ratification by the state legislatures. Now, suppose a particular state, the legislature, the power has been exercised under 356 and the president assumes the powers of the legislature, the executive. Can a ratification be done under 356 in relation to that particular state legislature?
No, Malaj. No, because he's exercising powers as a state legislature, Malaj, in this sense. There is no question of ratification.
Not in the J&K case. I'm
Yes.
just theoretically, I'm saying, can a...
Generally, what is my lord is putting to?
Some constitutional amendments under the proviso
Yes.
require a ratification.
That's right, that's right.
Now, for the purpose of computing the majority, computing the strength required for ratification,
Yeah.
can the centre fall back upon the exercise of the 356 power? Say that, look, we have ratified it because we were exercising the power under 356. Has never
What Lord is
happened, but
putting to me is that if Jammu and Kashmir, in a 368 situation, if Jammu and Kashmir were to ratify it, then Parliament can exercise that power.
suppose any Indian state,
No, Malaj.
you require a certain number of states.
Provided, Malaj, the 356 is imposed there, not otherwise.
But if 356
Yeah.
is imposed, then can that power to
That's
ratify the amendment be
tough question.
exercised?
That's a tough question.
Even that is a little...
Yeah, it's a tough. I can't answer it.
Yeah,
right
even
away.
I-
I'll have to think
just-
more about it. Because the ratification is of the state. Therefore, there are two separate constitutional authorities. One parliament passing the law and
And then the
another
state.
authority ratifying it. You can't take the position. That's like it takes two hands to clap. It's the same analogy. Therefore, you can't exercise that power yourself because that's power constitutionally is provided for in another institution, in another constitutional body.
Now here the proclamation comes under 356.
That's right.
After that, what is done then?
Then, Malaj, they amend section Article 3.
We saw that.
Yes. But Malaj, kindly see, just read Article 3 with me for a minute. Formation of new states, alteration of areas, boundaries, or names of existing states.
Amendment to Article 3 required as part of this whole process.
Because they wanted to get rid of this proviso, Malaj. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to.
Proviso?
Yes. Because then you have to do the Reorganization Act.
Or the reorganization.
Yeah, that required.
Converting the state into a
That's
UT.
right. That's right. That's how this had to be done earlier. That's why, Malaj, when the views of states was taken, Malaj, they said, no, you haven't referred it. We said, only need to take your views. We don't have to take your consent or your concurrence. So we may not agree. Even if you express your views that it should not be done, we're not bound by, which is the correct constitutional provision. Then the second proviso provided further that no bill providing for increasing or diminishing the area of the state of Jammu and Kashmir or altering the name or boundary of that state shall be introduced in Parliament without the consent of the legislature of that state. So you can't even introduce it. Here by 356, you do away with it.
They have created a UT. Otherwise, they have not altered the territory, have they?
No, they haven't.
No.
Ladakh is not part of the state anymore.
That's what they carved out a UT and
Yeah.
made another UT, which they say.
They have carved out a UT saying that this will become a state,
Yeah.
and the other UT will remain a UT.
UT. So carving out a UT is permissible, no?
The boundaries are...
Not from a state. I'm sorry, you can't
Boundaries are
create a
altered.
whole state as there.
Boundaries are also...
Yes,
altered.
boundaries are also altered.
To that extent, yes.
So, Malaj, this is all. And Malaj, there is and I'm going to take your lordships to the Constitutional Assembly debates on this. Just presently, I'll do that.
And for J&K, consent is required.
Yes.
Not just
No.
the views, but the consent. Other states...
No, Malaj, you require the consent before you introduce it.
Right.
Yes.
Other states, it's only the views have to be taken,
That's
but for J&K, the consent is required
Before you
to introduce the bill.
Yes.
Is it mentioned only in 1954 constitutional order or is it incorporated in Article 3 also?
It's mentioned in the 54 order and incorporated in Article 3 before the 54 order.
If
Yes.
it is incorporated,
Yes.
that would amount to amendment of the constitution. Then was it followed as per Article 368?
Not in the Indian Constitution, Malad. It's only
So
in this Constitution.
This proviso, second proviso,
Yes,
you are reading.
yes.
Now we are reading it on the presumption or assuming that it's a part of Article 3 of the Indian Constitution. Second proviso.
No, it's a modification of Article 3. As applicable. As applicable only.
So it is only incorporated in the 1954 order,
As
not formally inserted in Article 3 of the Indian Constitution as a second proviso.
Correct. Absolutely right, what my lord is putting to me. Absolutely.
They suspended the operation of
They
it.
suspended the operation. Now, how do you get that power under 356? That's not the object of the proclamation.
Deleted. Suspended.
Then the exercise.
That assembly can't exercise that power unless to suspend.
On behalf of the assembly.
Yes, they can't do that also. A bill cannot be introduced without the consent. Assembly is not in session. There is no assembly, it has been dissolved. So where do you get the consent of the assembly? So the governor becomes the assembly, then the assembly becomes parliament, and then parliament gives consent. On behalf of an assembly that doesn't exist.
Mr. Sibal, what was the procedure followed when different orders were issued under those constitution, right? Like those about 18 orders,
Yeah.
constitution orders,
Yeah.
1952 up
Yes,
to.
all mandates with concurrence. With reply, with
What was the procedure followed?
procedure
Was it through parliament process or through by the president only?
No, it's not through a parliament process, it's through a presidential notification after taking the consent, concurrence or consultation. That's right. So that's how it's made applicable, through a presidential order. So it's 356 and exercising powers under 356. So the views of the people of the state were to be taken. So the second proviso, Malads, when it came in, they said that this will not apply to Jammu and Kashmir. It needed consent. And so therefore no bill could be introduced. This is consistent with all of the provisions, including 370, including the powers of concurrence, Malads, with respect to the concurrent list in the concurrent list of the Constitution as applicable. So this is a consistent thread throughout, Malads, which is accepted by the constitution makers. That's the proclamation. So when everybody was all states were integrated into the union, that means you didn't need any consent. But since this was not integrated, Jammu and Kashmir, therefore the second proviso was provided.